Wow, it's time for another show full of tips and ideas from the sales growth leadership expert, Dean Akers. Known for his experience in hyper-growing companies and creating cultures for high-performance teams, here's Dean.
Well, welcome to your Sales and Leadership Ninja Show. I'm your head ninja, and every week I bring you a rant to stimulate your thoughts in either the realm of sales and or leadership. And I got to tell you, we're 160, 70 episodes in. I really appreciate everybody reaching back to me and all the help that they're getting. And it's my personal mission to help you in leadership or sales. Today, we're following on a process that has worked for me without any flaws for 40 plus years. And it's the selling with intent process. And today, we're going to talk about step 2. This process has been what's allowed me to hyper-grow companies no matter what the economy is, what the industry is. It just really doesn't matter, and it never fails. Operative word is never. So if you're a skeptic and you're listening in today, I really encourage you to prove me wrong. And then I look forward to the smiles you get when you find out that you weren't able to prove me wrong and you had super success in growing your business without pricing competition really mattering. So selling with intent, as I've shared with you in the past, is a fundamental sales strategy. And again, it's a mental strategy as much as anything else. And the mental strategy is it's not if I'm going to get a client, it's when I'm getting a client. And it's not being discouraged. And last week we started out with the first step, which was identifying the DNA of your customer and then getting what the DNA of other customers were. So the second step, which is where some real magic happens, is, again, we're talking B2B. If it's business to consumer, feel free to reach out to me at dean@deanakers.com, and I'll talk to you about the business to consumers. It's so similar, just some fundamental differences that we're not going to talk about today. The B2B is where most of my business to business sales is, where most of my listeners that's what they really hang out for. So we're going to talk again about that today. And the second step of selling with intent, which is creating a list. And this is really, really powerful. And this list should be done in a program like Excel or Google Sheets or something like that. And if you need an example, just email me at dean@deanakers.com, and I will be happy to send you a template example of the CV list so you can fill it out and see the magic kind of develop in front of you. So here's the steps of your spreadsheet. In the first column, you put the list of names of all those potential clients that you want. In the second column, you put the total estimated value of what that client you should if you get the client or your current client, what that estimated value to your company is in sales. Or if you're a salesperson, a lot of times you can put it in the language of your commission. So an example would be is if you were selling, let's say you were selling employee benefits, and you had a client that had 100 employees, and you sell them $100,000 a year in business, or do $100,000 a year in business. As you're building this list out, and you see there's XYZ company, and you're able, because this data is all over the internet, you're able to determine that they have 200 employees. So the assumption you make in the CV list would be the one that you have business with, that you make $100,000 a year on 100 employees. If you had the same potential one that had 200 employees, then the assumption moves to $200,000. Now, it's not always dead accurate, but it's so close it's almost crazy. So as you go through and you put this list together of your current customers and all the potential people that mirror it, which was stage 1, now your list has this long list of people that has the potential incomes that you've identified by whatever criteria you use against your current DNA. With this list, you'll now have 3 more columns, and you can move these out, but these 3 columns will be relationship 1, relationship 2, and relationship 3. And what you're doing in here, so if you have $100,000 worth of benefit and you have all ones because you don't even know anybody, that's 10%, which makes it worth 10,000. And again, if you get my example at dean@deanakers.com, I'll email it to you. You could show that with that, and you have a $10,000 possibility, and you translate it into hourly work, you're going to see that you can still work them a long time even with no possibility because they're so large. So you build this list, and here's where the magic really happens. You have the list, and let's just use this person you do 100,000 with 100 employees, and you already know that they have 100 employees and 100 grand a year. So you already know you have a relationship with 3 people. You measure your relationship. It's generally good. I very rarely see a B2B that when they have a client, they don't have a relationship with at least 3 people, 7 or better. 7 or better means you really know them. You're talking to them on 4th of July. You know their birthdays. You know they're married. You know where they went to high school. All the different stuff. When you're doing it working with me, any of my clients and or my companies, when person gets 7s across, I'll say, okay, tell me about them. And they know they're going to get this drill of me really seeing how deep their relationship is. If it's just, I know his name's Fred, and they don't know his last name, don't know where he used to work or anything else, I bust them back to a 2 or 3. So when you're selling with intent, you again know what the value is. Another example would be law firms. We used to work in a copy equipment business. We had law firms. We knew the average lawyer did 25,000 copies. So if there was one lawyer, it was one copy machine. 25,000 copies was a copy machine size, so a standard one. So if we had 3 lawyers, it's 3 copy machines, or 100,000 per month copy machine copier. And it was all relative speaking, but it was same thing as the 200 employees versus the 100 employees, the 100 grand versus 200 grand in employee benefits. So again, the magic really comes down to building what the opportunity is. Now the 3 people deep, you want a 7 or better relationship. When I get a 7 or better relationship with 3 or more people, I always get the business. And what's crazier, the larger clients, what you'll customarily find, although it only takes 3, as you build the relationships with 3, those relationships will get much deeper. On my large clients, I'd have really tight relationships with 10 plus people. But importantly for you to remember today in today's show and our visit of Selling with Intent, you want to know 3 people, 7 or plus relationship. And oh, by the way, it doesn't necessarily have to be a decision maker, because what a lot of companies don't realize, or what a lot of salespeople and sales managers don't realize, that when you're selling with intent, there's so many times influencers that you would never guess have any input or say or value in the sale. Do not underestimate anybody who's been with the organization for more than a year or 6 months that they don't have value to you in that transaction. It could even be the front desk person. So when I have a relationship 3 deep, 7 plus with my CV list, I always get the client. And the operative word there is always. Again, it's not a matter of if I get a client, it's when. And it's dedicated. In my case, I've shared with y'all 2 years. When you start doing the math of the CV list, and oh, by the way, what it does, it translates back into your income. So if you have a commission, and your commission on this 100 grand was 10%, so you made $10,000. So the potential commission on the $200,000 income would be 20 grand. And if you're a $200,000 income earner, that means you could work that client a total of 200 hours at $100 an hour to get them at that rate. And it's crazy numbers how cool it works when you sell with intent. Always do the math. Now you've set your list up. Now you're looking at your 3 deep. Now you know what the value of the client is. And the next step again is to put your income in there, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But what it drives is how many hours you can work them with a 1 relationship up to 10 to secure the client and always get the business. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So what I want you to do is tune in next week for the next step in intentional selling. We'll be talking about how to build these relationships. This is an important ingredient. And this is where salespeople run, pitch, puke all over the people, and then leave and go. They just didn't want to buy. Yet they buy every day. Yet they fit the criteria. And yet we know in this case they were worth 200 grand versus our customer worth 100 grand. And we run in, make our pitch, and leave, and never to hear from us again. So tune in next week when we talk about the next step of intent selling, when we talk about how to build these relationships. And again, I promise you, this process always works. It's been my secret for over 45 years. It's never failed and always achieves the results of hyper sales. And it's all with selling with intent. Always selling with intent. Again, thank you so much for tuning in every week. And remember to share if this helps you. My book, Self-Talk, Think Like a Child, is available today on Amazon. I appreciate everybody that buys it. It means a lot to me to have all the sales, not financially, but just the total in engagement of self-talk and think like the child and how it changes people's lives. And again, if you ever have a question, you can always email me at dean@deanakers.com. All the ones I get every week, I get answered before the end of the week, and I'm always here to help you. I'm here to help you. And again, if you want an example of the CV template, just email me again at dean@deanakers.com, and I will send you an example of it, and it is total magic, and it's step 2 in selling with intent. So this week, let's get the CV list done, and let's just see how large the opportunity is. I promise you, it will be shocking, and it will be good. Have a great week.
We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Subscribe today to our podcast and send questions or thoughts to help@deanakers.com. Also, visit us at www.deanakers.com to listen to prior shows and view helpful videos. Also, great tips to download. Thanks again. See you next week.